Once you get your license and get to work, you might want to hire someone as a salesperson to solicit, sale, negotiate home improvement contracts on your behalf outside of your place of business. These people are called home improvement salespersons, or HIS. Without an HIS, the official personnel of record on a license are the only ones that can solicit, sell, negotiate, or execute a contract. That includes individual contractors, license qualifiers, partners, corporation officers, and LLC responsible managing officers, members, managers, or employees. An HIS can work for more than one contractor. The licensee must notify CSLB in writing when they either associate or disassociate an HIS from their license.
There are a couple of exceptions to note. First, are those who only schedule appointments for the contractor or registered HIS, and bona fide service and repair people. These are the folks you call out for repairs, including for things like air conditioning, heating, plumbing. But those service and repair people are limited to the work that was initially requested by the buyer or homeowner. For example, if your AC air conditioning goes out and you call a HVAC company to come out, the service person does not have to be a registered salesperson. But if they go beyond the repair itself and sell you a new HVAC system, they would have to be a registered HIS. Also, don't employ an unregistered salesperson. That subjects you to administrative discipline, and the salesperson might get a citation or possibly even a criminal misdemeanor. You have got bonus links at the bottom of this page if you want to look at the actual code section of the law. Okay, this is our presentation. Now it's time to answer some of the questions. Okay, some questions. Okay. I am a customer furniture builder, including cabinetry. Is there a license that is specified to furniture, beds, table, etc., that is separate from C6? No, we do not regulate the furniture as standalone furnitures like tables, beds. It's only like cabinets, built-in light bookshelves, crown molding. Those are then actually attached to the structure. Those are the one that we license, and C6 is the correct license for that. I have my business now with handyman in the name, but after obtaining the license, I want my business name to include remodeling. Would it be easier to form a new entity for applications so that the license is put under the new name? That would be up to you. I mean, you can use the remodeling. For example, my name is Fuad. I can say, Fuad Remodeling if I'm going for a sole owner license. Now, if you want to go with the corporation and LLC, again, that would be your choice. But yes, you can use the remodeling in there. And if you want to submit your application and if you want to go with one of those entities, yes, I recommend you register those entities first before you submit your application. Otherwise, you will have more delays. If I was chosen to provide documentation, is it just one of those types that will be required to be submitted? Will I be asked for a specific one, or is it my choice? They give you like a list of the documents that are acceptable. So any of those that you have, you will submit. And again, it depends on your experience. Where can I get the slides? Is there a download link? Yes, there is a download link on our banner. You can download it from there on our website. If I have a C license, but sub out a portion of the job, do the subs need to have a license when the job is greater than? Yes, if you sub in, yes, you cannot sub to an unlicensed contractor, period. As a RME for a corporation, can you oversee multiple CA project sites? Or do you need a RME at each California project site? Okay, I will refer you to Business and Professional Code 7068.1. That's 7068.1. That will tell you the limitation of a qualifier qualifying more than one license. So for an RME, an employee, we also have another requirements. You know, they have to show that they work 32 hours a week for each corporation or entity. So we will look at, you can do that. You cannot do it more than two, licenses. And again, that one has restrictions, and you can see all those 7068.1. The options were 4 years of a journeyman, or you get a qualifier for the license. What does it mean, you get a qualifier? Okay, that means, for example, I want to have a license and work in the construction industry, but I do not have the experience. So I can hire someone who has the experience as my employee, as RME, for example. And that person would take the exam and would be my qualifier. And I'd be on the license, but not as a qualifier. That's what that means. In order to apply for the license, you can list work to help with the application. Licensing listed, you can list work to help with the applicant, such as a school in apprenticeship. But what if a person works solo, doing work under 500? They don't have a supervisor. Can this still be submitted even though it's technically not an apprenticeship? If you done work under 500, that's pretty much handyman work. So, those are not apprenticeship. Apprenticeship actually goes through accredited, program, Department of Industrial Relations, who actually approve those. So that's the only kind of apprenticeship we're talking about. So your experience, again, I cannot, judge it here, but the only way we can see is if you submit the application, put your experience in there, we saw what you have. But that would not constitute the apprenticeship, what you just mentioned. As RME for a corporation, can you oversee multiple? We already talked about that. How many months of credit will I receive for my Bachelor of Art degree in economics? Again, we are not going to go into that, but again, based on the examples that we have here, actually, we gave you about the art one on that. You see 18 months for art. Okay. How long is the process if I send my application today? Right now, it takes us between 6 to 7 weeks before we can get to your application. And once we get that, if the application is complete, we don't have any, we don't have to send it back for any corrections. It will be posted, and your exam is about 3 to 4 weeks away. So I'll tell you, it takes about 3 months or so to get the exam, and about 3 to 4 weeks after that to get the license issued. So I would put about 4 months aside for that process. What is the difference between an original contract and original contract waiver? Ron, would you take that one, please?
Sure. An original contractor's license is usually for someone who's never held the license before, and you'll be required to take the law and the corresponding trade exam for the classification you're applying for. The waivers exam is, as an example, someone who has already held that classification in the last 5 years, and maybe they may have been a qualifier on another license and now they want their own license. they're applying for the same classification, they would get an examination waiver if they meet all the requirements because they've already passed the exams required for that particular classification. So usually someone who has either already passed the exams within the last 5 years or have held that particular classification in the last 5 years.
Thank you. What is the cost for the application and exams? The application itself is $450. And for the initial licensing fee, that's when you have passed your exams and everything and it's ready to get your license issued. For sole owner is $200, and for any other entity is $350. You can see all of those on the application itself. So the top left-hand side of the application actually shows you all the fees. Let's see. What if you have been if you have been arrested but not convicted? Again, it's those are the things that once we get the results back with the DOJ, we go based on that. So it's all depends on what's in the rap sheet that comes back from DOJ. You want to disclose everything, because if something comes up and you have not disclosed it, then that could create delays. So you want to disclose everything. Will we be emailed a copy of this presentation? Of course, unfortunately, we don't have that, but we have. You can download it from our website, or you can go to YouTube and follow it. Okay, question. It says Bob performed rough and finish carpentry. So they're referring to one of our slides. In this example, is Bob the customer giving a review of the work for the purpose of listing the work experience for the applicant? If Bob isn't the customer, how does someone who does, not the supervisor, best explain the? No, in this case, Bob would be actually the person who's applying for a license. So, for example, Ronald James, my coworker here, he's applying for a license, and he comes ask me, Fuad, who work with him, to certify him. So I will say, I have witnessed Ron to have performed this and this and this and this. So the certifier is saying the applicant has done, X, Y, and Z. That's what that means. What is C61 limited especially classification? There is actually about 30 of classifications under there. For example, D49, which is tree trimming, D39, scaffolding. Some of these ones, or D12, like synthetic product. Some of the limited classifications, that these classifications do not have trade exam. They only have the law exam. So there's about 30 of them, and they're all under C61. So it's C61, D49, C61, D12, and go on. What is the difference between the General B license and the B2 license? Ron, you want to take that one?
Absolutely. So the easiest explanation is a B classification. General B is usually dealing with structural framing within the confines of the project with 2 additional trades. The B2 basically is using 3 trades in the project and no structural framing. We're not building anything in the B2 classification. It falls under the category of you see a lot of handyman work on a project that's doing 3 or more trades in the project, but not including any kind of structural framing or working on load-bearing walls. So 3 different trades, but not structural framing.
Thank you. I'm currently a property manager. A huge part of my role is to hire vendors and overseeing their projects on site. Such projects include landscaping remodel, deck coating, building painting, water intrusion detection, re-roof project, etc. How can I use this as qualified experience? Well, what you said, just hiring folks to do the job, that is actually not a qualifying experience. As we said, the experience has to be journey level or higher. So you have to have done this yourself, perform it yourself, or supervise your own employee do it. So if you go hire a contractor to do it, that is not a qualifying experience for you. If I'm using a step-by-step list to start a construction business C8 type, is my first step getting a name with Secretary of the State office? Again, that depends on what entity you will choose for your business. If it's a sole owner, no. Of course, you don't need to register with Secretary of the State. But corporation, LLCs, limited partnership, yes, you need to register with the SOS. Hi, I'm a California licensed architect and I have worked on construction phases of projects for many years. Should I put the architecture firm I work at or the contractor as employee? My architecture firm does not have a contractor license that you are requiring. Thank you. Well, I cannot really whether approve or not approve your qualification this way. You put whatever experience you have, which is the hands-on. You submit those documents and the workshop. If we need documents, we'll ask you. But yeah, again, wherever you gain your experience, you put that on the certification of your experience. And we're looking, like I said, you've been actually at the job site performing the work or supervising the employees do the job. If it was just a design, unfortunately, that is not qualifying experience. Should I have the college sending the transcript before or after I send the application in? This is the best way is because now we have about 6 weeks or so before we can actually get you to your application. So to make sure, to make sure that we can match it, if you're going to send it at separate date, send your application, then your transcript. But our recommendation is ask for the transcript, come to you, put that envelope with your application and send it all to us, so they're all in one packet. Definitely recommend you ask them to send it to you first, then you include it in your application packet. Do you have to re-exam every 2 years to renew or just pay a renewal? No, you can, as long as you keep your license renewed every 2 years, you're good. The only time you have to take re-exam is if you let your license lapse more than 5 years. So if your license expired 5 years ago and you come back now, you want to renew, which you cannot after 5 years. And if you want to get that license back again, you have to retake the exam. But every 2 years, you just pay the renewal fee. I will be applying for the B2 license. I have gained my experience through self-employment because I will be right at the 4 years experience mark when I apply. I want to make sure I can get full credit for the experience that I do have as a self-employed handyman. There are limitations we not do watch out for that. We'll deduct credit from my experience, such as not enough income for the year or not being employed by a licensed company. If so, could you please specify some of those limitations? Again, as we said, we take 3% of our applicants for the random experience check. So again, I cannot go through the process, just break it down piece to piece for you, but whatever invoices you have, you should keep, receipts you have, all those could come in handy to proving your time period. Again, the best way is just submit the application, and submit all your experience so we can go through it. I'm currently owner, partner, and CFO for a B contractor and the license is originally was under a qualified individual who's sole owner, partner, and president of corporation, and I am wanting to leave the corporation and start my own company and wonder what I will need to do to maintain a regional license. We have been in business for 20 years. Also, what would I need to do to get one or more C classification? Okay, this is a specific question. So please send that question to licensing@cslb.ca.gov, and we will be able to respond to you and help you that way. I'm sorry, would you repeat the answer? See, do all officers of corporation have to be a permanent resident? What if they are here on business visa? Every officer on the license has to have whether social security number or ITIN number. They have to be fingerprinted. Again, the residence is not important, but they have to be whether have a social security number or individual tax identification number. When I submit my fingerprints, how will the establishment know who to send it to? Well, that one is actually between us and the, once you get it done, if you get it done on live scan, that goes directly to DOJ, and there is a number on that fingerprint form that DOJ knows to send the results to us. Can you go into more detail on college education for? Is there any limit on bachelor's of art degree you can use as experience? No, a bachelor of arts degree gets 18 months for any of the classification that they apply for. That's it. And again, I cannot go through all the degrees, but as we discussed it, if it's an associate degree, somewhere between 6 months to 18 months. If it's bachelor degree, somewhere between 18 to 36 months. If it is directly related to that classification, which we pretty much have a construction management, which that would get 36 months. So that's pretty much the best I can help you with that. Does the RMO have to be an employee of a corporation? Ron, you want to take that one?
You bet. So the RMO is a responsible managing officer of the business. So yes, in that case, you're basically stating that the RMO is an officer of the corporation. They wouldn't necessarily have to be an officer of the three primary officers of president, secretary, and treasurer, but you're essentially saying that they are an officer of the corporation.
Thank you. Just lost on the list.
I think we're at do owner builder projects that did not require a permit qualify as experience for people satisfying for the B2. So a B2, a lot of the projects could be strictly, for example, painting, repairing drywall, changing out a shower head. So yes, those wouldn't necessarily need to be permitted, and those would count as experience towards the B2. For the B general building classification, because it deals with the main project of structural building, there will nearly always be a permit involved in the experience going for a general B.
What is the next step if the experience I submit is challenged? I have 5 years of journeyman level experience. I provided letters from employer. Again, these are the specific ones. I really recommend you send an email to licensing@cslb.ca.gov. Follow that. For example, could the qualifier be the RMO but an employee of another corporation? All corporations are part of the same parent. I would refer you to code Business and Professional Code 7068.1. That's again, those are the one explained that how one person can qualify multiple licenses. 7068.1. Does the new name of business have to include some type of reference to the license obtained? The business name cannot be misleading. Okay, so my business name could be Fuad Largos. Okay, but if I have a plumbing, I cannot say Fuad Largos to construction. I have to keep it to plumbing. So that's why we say it can be misleading. But if you're not referring to any other classification, that should be okay. Let's see. My father has a company. Is it possible to transfer the license because he's retiring? If it's a sole owner, yes, you can actually look at Business and Profession Code 7075.1. That's 7075.1. That one actually tell you what licenses can be transferred and not. And if a sole ownership license, they are retiring or they can't do the business anymore, they can turn it to their immediate family, as long as again the license is in good standing currently, because they can do that to continue the family business. So I recommend look at 7075.1. Let's see, okay, can a qualifier and applicant take the exam together? No, only qualifier takes the exam. That's it. That's the person who has the experience, has to take the exam, and would be responsible for day-to-day operations of the construction. Can someone who just turned 18 still have 4 years of experience, but having experience working with a family member? Again, we have to look at those. That would be possible that an 18-year-old has 4 years of journeyman experience, because as you know, labor laws won't allow to even hold the power tools until you're 15, 16 years old, let alone be journeyman. But again, you need to submit your application and we go look at it and go from there. I want to get a license. Do you offer classes? We do not offer any classes. We are not affiliated with any schools. We just have those study guides that we mentioned on the slide, and you can use those. And we'll also, once we set you up for exam, we will send you those study guides. But that's all we have. If I was working full-time in an industry for several years, but left the industry to join the military, I still assisted in a virtual centric capacity, scheduling appointments and following up on company leads. Will this be acceptable as continued work experience? As we said, you have to be actually in the field. If you are working with them, you're under the payroll and you have been a job site, yes. Otherwise, that would be very hard to prove. I also am trying to get my C-17. How long will the qualifying individual need to sign for it? The work was part-time during the course of 16 years. Okay, we will look at last 10 years. So 22, we will look at from January 2012 to now. So if during that time you work at least 4 years, then you can put that date on there. You can say from 2012 to 2022, part-time, the total of 4 years, 5 years, whatever that total comes to. Let's see. Are there books CSLB available for 12 study guide or a specific C license? In the study guide, actually, we have a list of resources, and you can get any of those from the local library. Which licensing would be required or beneficial also performing home inspections? Excuse me, we don't license home inspectors. But if you have any specific question about the classification, I recommend you send the email to classifications, that's plural, classifications @cslb.ca.gov. Classification @cslb.ca.gov. Okay, what type of insurance do you need? Do you mean umbrella insurance to protect assets from a lawsuit, or do you mean health insurance for the employees? Ron, can you take that one?
The insurance requirements can vary by the entity that you get. If you have employees, it's workers' compensation insurance. It's not the health insurance. So we're strictly looking at workers' compensation to protect the employees that you have working for your company.
Thank you. As a property manager that does all of the required work, would that work qualify as experience, and would the property owner be the qualifier? Qualifier is the person who actually does the work. That's the person who's going to be on the first page of application. That's the person who's going to take the exam. So that's the qualifier. If you're actually as a project property manager doing the work yourself, you can claim that experience. Again, we may ask for documents to show you do that. For example, if you claim that you have done a structural work, we would require to see a permit or something. So keep that in mind. Okay, says Bob works for himself. He wants to apply for a C30 license, but he gained work experience without a license. Will there be any repercussions for? No, we are not going to judge the application or experience that way. We really encourage you to come and get licensed, so you don't have to do that without the license and look over your shoulders. We don't judge it that way. We just want to make sure you have the experience. You can sit for an exam and take the license. If you have bachelor's and master's, is it 18 months plus 24 months? No, we don't add them. You get the one that get most. So if you have, for example, master's or something for 24 months, it gets you 24 months, then we will give you that. We are not going to even count the 18 months. So whatever gives you the most, we will give you that one. If I have a business bachelor degree, 24 months, then I would need additional experience of only 2 years. If the bachelor degree that you have gets 24 months, yes. But again, as we said in the slides, don't count on that. It could be 18 months, so. But your calculation is right. If the bachelor degree counts for 24 months, then you would only need 2 years of hands-on experience. Which licensing would be required or beneficial if also performing home inspections aside from what's required to build, repair, modify home, even if not qualified? Yeah, we don't license inspectors. Again, it's just the contractors. Does the apprenticeship have to be with a company that has a license? And how can I prove this unpaid apprenticeship? Will a letter from, as we said, the apprenticeship program has to be certified by the Department of Industrial Relations. So if you're just working for a contractor, they taking them through their apprenticeship. That is not a valid apprenticeship we look at. When you get your apprenticeship certificate, it should say under there that it's certified by Department of Industrial Relations. What are the requirements to get approved as a translator for the exam? Once we will send it, once we post you and set you up for exam, you will get a letter. In that letter, it explains the requirements and whatnot. For example, I know that they are not supposed to be in the industry. They can be in the industry and then come translate for you. Do you need experience with the contractor with a certain type of license if you want to apply for that license yourself? Not necessarily. That would be the easiest way, more straightforward way. But no, there are many people. Let's say, for example, we had an example here of a C33 painting classification. There is a lot of painting, self-employed folks out there didn't work necessarily for a painting company. We will look at that experience as well. Do you need to purchase workers' compensation insurance if you have a B2 license and 0 employees? You are the only one working. No, since you don't have no employee, you wouldn't need worker comp. The only classification that requires a worker comp, even if you don't have an employee, will be C39 roofing for now. There is more of this classification. We'll have worker comp requirements in coming years, but right now, C39 with 0 employees, the only one that requires it, but any other classification, if you don't have an employee, you can just in your worker comp exempt form. If you apply for a Class B, but want to do other work listed in Class C, do I need to apply for both Class B and C? Would I have to pay double application? You can only apply one classification at a time. In your case, I would say you apply for your B classification. Once you finish that and you got your B license, then we have another application called application for additional classification. Then you can submit that one to add C to your license, but you cannot put 2 classification on your original application because it's test required and we only process for 1 classification at a time. So get your B and then down the road, add whatever C you want to add. And remember, you still need 4 years of experience for any of those classifications. We have do you need workers' compensation insurance if you are the only worker, but you hire a subcontractor to come help with the drywall project? They aren't on your normal payroll, but you subcontracted one job. Do you need to purchase worker comp insurance? Ron?
Well, kind of 2 different things. If you're subcontracting, that means you're hiring a licensed contractor to come in. If it's their employees, they would need to be carrying workers' comp on those people. If you're talking about just hiring people to come in and work for you to do a drywall project, for that project, they are your employees and you would need workers' compensation for those people, even if it was just for a project. They are still considered your employees, even if you're paying them on a 1099. They are your employees for that time. So you would be considered having employees and you would need workers' compensation.
Would experience still be considered if working in a rented space as opposed to your own home, etc.? Okay, let me clarify something. The owner-builder experience is only for B general building classification. That's it. You can only use your owner builder experience for that. Now, if you're doing it in a rented space, again, there probably is some kind of compensation for that. Maybe you take from rent or whatnot. But the main thing is then in that case, you wouldn't be owner builder, you would actually be self-employed, because now you're providing some kind of a service for some kind of, compensation. We have over 10 years experience working out of the state for a marine construction company. The state we work in did not require a license. We also have bachelor's degrees. How do we document our experience? Just, again, put the company's name, put all the information in there, and have someone was over there observe you to do the work, put the experience. We do some research ourselves, and that could be totally acceptable experience. So please submit your application, put everything on there, all the experience, and we'll do our research. And as far as the bachelor degree, I'm pretty sure that give you some time as well. If I just moved to California from another state and operate a small business for a couple of years, can I use this as work experience? Yes. Again, it depends. Pay attention to what we said. You actually have to perform or supervise your employees do the work. So if you had this experience, you just hired other people to do the work, you cannot use that experience. But if you did that and your employees did that, yes, of course you can use that experience. What % of a company must be owned by a woman to be considered minority owned? Does 50% qualify? Based on what we see, 51% or more. That would be the, the owner. Have to have the that again, we don't look at that. This is you need to go to the whatever your bidding process goes. I know that's what you're looking at. You put in a bid and they're looking for a minority owned. We don't really have that within us, so we don't distinguish between one or other. You have to actually work with that where your bidding goes. Okay, that is what we have. That's all the time we have today for our workshop. Thank you for all your questions. If you have any other questions about your application, we encourage you to drop an email to our licensing division. Here is that email address, licensing@cslb.ca.gov. And if at some point you need to reschedule your exam, you can get that process started by dropping an email to exams@cslb.ca.gov. We have also put together a list of available resources for women considering a career in construction. If you haven't already, sorry, be sure to download this presentation to get them. You can download the presentation on a green banner on top of our homepage, www.cslb.ca.gov. If you are watching the archive video of this workshop on our YouTube page, you will find the link to the presentation down below.
We welcome your comments or topics for future webcasts. Just drop us an email to social@cslb.ca.gov. Special thanks to our Licensing Division and Public Affairs Office for their help on this workshop. The Get Licensed to Build workshop is a copyrighted production of the California Contractors State License Board. Thanks for watching.